Just hours after he was projected the winner of the New York City mayoral race, Mayor-elect Eric Adams spoke extensively with CBS 2 political reporter Marcia Kramer. He shared his plans for several initiatives, including public safety and criminal justice reform.
So here's the thing. When
Yes.
Mario Cuomo was running, he always used to say that you campaign in poetry, but you govern in prose. And you have had a lot of amazing poetry, but now you have to govern in prose. So I'd like to ask you some specific things about what you plan to do. First, as you know, public safety, I know, is your #1 priority. So what are the top changes that you would make in the NYPD to make people safe?
You know, and it's interesting that people say that, you know, on the campaign trail, I am using poetry, but I have an amazing document that's online, 100 plus steps forward for New York City. And it's very specific. I'm not going to read that document on the campaign trail because you're trying to move people to get to the polls. And that is one of the problems with the Democratic Party. We try to campaign in policies, and that is not what moves people. We are hardwired to have stories. That is how we retain information. But my specific changes with the New York City Police Department is clear. Here's the plan. Step 1, reinstitute an anti-gun plainclothes unit to hit the streets, zero in on gangs and guns. Step 2, coordinate with our city, state, and federal agencies with information sharing, similar to what we did with terrorism, so that we can stop the flow of guns. We have never really focused our full law enforcement manpower to stop the flow of guns, identify those gun dealers that are selling illegal guns. We have to go to the source. The NRA has choked the life out of the ATF and other agencies that could pinpoint these gun dealers in the southern part of the country and stop these illegal guns on our street. And number 3, we have to change the ecosystem of public safety. When we think public safety, we only think police. That is wrong. I want to get mental health professionals on board with us to help us with those with mental health illnesses, crisis management teams to cover every hotspot that we have in the city. Right now, we only cover certain hotspots. These are locations where shootings take place. And then I want to partner with my district attorneys and say we have to be honest about people who discharge a weapon or carry a gun. They can't be back out in the street on the next day. We got to look at this legislation in Albany and make a clear statement that if you carry a gun, use a gun, you are going to be held responsible for that. And judges should have the discretion that if this person is dangerous, that they're going to remain incarcerated until trial or until they have a suitable bail to make sure that they come back to court. And those are some of the real things we want to do.
So you're going to ask, are you going to have your people develop a bill that would change the bail reform laws so that you won't be having these people out on the street?
The most important aspect of the bail reform law is the lack of discretion for judges. And I'm hoping that the lawmakers would look at where we are right now, because one of the things they stated that we're going to look at the current law that was passed, and if it is going to jeopardize public safety, they will re-examine that. And I believe that we are seeing far too many repeated users of guns. And those repeated users should be held accountable. We can't put them back on the street after discharging a weapon or carrying a weapon. It's obvious that they're not getting the message.
So I know that you've met with gang leaders in the hope that you can convince them that they should turn over a new leaf. When you take office, will their world change on January 1st after you become mayor?
Yes, it would. I spent the last 2.5 years speaking to gang members. And think about this for a moment, Marcia. This is what we're supposed to do. Let's go on the ground and find out, why are you in a gang? Why are you involved in this violent behavior? If we are too removed from the problem, we won't be close to the solution. And let's look at what I discovered through these conversations. Dyslexia, learning disabilities, growing up in households without moms or dads, mothers on drugs, dads are incarcerated. When you do a profile of people who are in gangs, they have a similar characteristic and profile of how they got in gangs. So how do you resolve that problem? You can't resolve it just by saying, let's put more police to go after them only. I want to stop the flow. And that's one of the best things I did by going on the ground and speaking to these gang members to find out, why are you here and how do I get you out of the situation that you're in? But January 1st, the conversation is over. We talked long enough. You're not going to shoot up my city. You're not going to carry guns and sell drugs and do teenage prostitution. That is not going to happen in my city, and I'm not going to tolerate that at all. So don't think my conversation means I'm going to be soft on making sure my city is safe. That is not true.
How are you going to do that? How are you going to get those? I mean, you're now serving notice right now. The conversation ends on January 1st. You're the sheriff. You're not going to take it. So how do you do that?
Well, there's a number of things we're doing already. There's a large number of gang members that have left gangs, and we're putting them on a pathway. We're going to partner with our business community and put in place a centralized job application. We're going to have job centers. When someone is looking for a job, they're going to be able to go to one location. And we've partnered with the partnership and other corporations and said, we need you to list all the jobs that you have available so we can start matching people who are looking for a job with the job that you have available at this time. And then we're going to give people the mental health counseling they need. Imagine someone delivered Chinese food to your residence and you rob them and shoot them. Something is mentally unstable about that. We have to start looking at this mental health crisis we have, increase in attempted suicides, level of depression, how COVID has impacted us. We have to have a proper response to what we're witnessing in our city, particularly around young people and in impoverished areas of this city.
So let me talk to you about Rikers. I know that you support the community jails, but the community jail RFP won't be going out until January when you are mayor, and it's going to take 5 years. The question is, what is the morality of keeping people in Rikers right now for 5 more years before these new prisons are built? Why not fix some of the things at Rikers now so that the people don't have to, that are there, don't have to live in those horrible conditions for 5 more years?
Well said, Marcia. And here's the plan. And we need to be clear on this. Number one, we need to stop only talking about the prisoners. We need to talk about the correction officers. Those are law enforcement officers as well. And they have human waste thrown on them. Some of the women are sexually assaulted. And when we talk about Rikers, we only talk about the inmates. But you know what? The correction officers, they did not commit a crime to get there. And we need to treat them with the respect that they deserve. Number two, you find that the dangerous inmates that are assaulting correction officers are also assaulting inmates. So the mayor was right to put in place some form of a version of solitary confinement. Don't have to lock someone in the jail for 24 hours, but you need to put them in a place that they're not going to continue to be harmful to inmates and officers. Before, we were not doing that. We stopped writing up citations on those who commit infractions. We stopped, repeatedly charging people who commit assault. That's the wrong message to do, putting them right back in population without any reprisal for their actions. Number three, we need to look at who's the population. There's no reason someone have minor probation violations that we're placing them back in Rikers Island. We need to look at how do we keep people out of jail, not to put them back in for minor infractions. And number four, which I think is important, technology. It's crucial that we use technology so that we can do the hearings and other court visits. We don't have to put people and put them on a bus to take them back to court. That's why we have something called Zoom. I mean, we learned from that. So let's evolve with that to make sure it's done. And let's immediately get those who are sentenced up to the state penitentiaries where it's better suited to hold prisoners and not in the Rikers Island facility.
Do you think that some money should be spent to rebuild or build a new facility or something on Rikers now so that they don't have to wait 5 years to go to more humane prisons with better conditions?
Yes, I do. It is a plan not to put any money to fix the doors, to fix the conditions, because they're waiting 5 years to build the jails. I'm a big believer in intervention and prevention. Prevention, those are the long-term things we need to do, but intervention, there are things we must do right now. And Marcia, I walked through Rikers. I could not believe my eyes. and what I was seeing. The place is filthy. You don't need to build a new jail to clean the facility. There's no reason for that. It's dark, it's dreary, it reeks of crime. And when you're in a bad situation, you're going to do bad things. If the people are not able to go to recreation, to go outside in the yard, that is not how you should run a facility. And it is creating a facility that is going to give birth to violence.
So you're saying you're going to spend some money and fix it up?
Yes, I am. Something simple as paint the darn place. Somebody come in and clean the floors. There was filth all over the place. There was urination on the floor. There was food on the floor. I mean, it was just a place that stated we are out of control. So let's get in control.
Let me talk to you about something that sort of we haven't really talked about in the campaign trail. There's the city has built this big ferry system that takes people all around the city from various neighborhoods. But I wonder if you think that EDC, your EDC soon, should continue to run the ferry system and subsidize it to the tune of $8 or $9 a ride. Should the MTA take that over so that the city doesn't have to spend all that money, especially since some of the people who are riding are tourists? Why should you talk about efficiencies? Isn't that an efficiency where you could save a lot of money and have the MTA do it for you? Your new friend, Governor Hochul, might be able to help you.
And I agree with you 100%. I believe places like the Rockaways was essential to have an alternative to transportation. They only have the A line. We should be willing to compensate and assist in paying the fare that use the ferry, but other locations, no. And also, I asked the question, why are we allowing an outside vendor to do it? Why can't we have the same men and women that drive the ferry boat from Staten Island? Why can't we take it over? We want to re-examine that and say that we should run our own ferry system. I believe it will be cheaper to do so instead of giving it to an outside vendor to carry it out. I think we can do it internally, and that is something that we are looking at.
So you don't think the MTA should do it? You think you could do it yourself and do it cheaper?
Well, either the MTA or the Staten Island Ferry, the same system that we have with the Staten Island Ferry. My team is exploring how do we do it cheaper, and at a minimum, how do we make sure those locations, like I stated, Rockaway and some of the Coney Island areas where transportation is challenging, that is an area we should be compensating, but we should not be compensating tourists in the city to ride around. If anything, they should be charged a little more and they'd be willing to pay it. When I go abroad, I'm willing to pay the price for the cities that I am in.
So let me ask you this, the biggest question that anybody covering politics today is, who's going to be the new police commissioner besides yourself, of course? Who's going to be the new police commissioner?
You know what? We have a good problem. There's so much talent out there, and we're really excited about it. And as I stated, the next commissioner must be really emotionally intelligent and have the empathy and compassion. Not only should they have worn a gun belt, but if they didn't, they should understand that we need to boost morale. And I'm leaning into a lot of my corporations to do corporate training. I want my police commissioner to get a quality training on what leadership is all about, what it is to be CEO of a major police agency. And that's what we need, that type of leadership. And unfortunately, in law enforcement, we don't do that enough. I want my lieutenants, my sergeants, my captains, my chiefs to go to corporate training on leadership. What is leadership about? Not just because you pass an examination, but how do you start to be emotionally intelligent enough that you can lead the troops in a direction that we want them to go into?
So you're not willing to give me a name or two or three?
If there was any one reporter I would give it to Marcia first. We narrowed it down. We're not at the final level yet, but we're excited about some of the prospects.
So I know there are a lot of people that would love to work for you. I wonder how you feel about whether you would hire some of the people who ran against you, whether Corey Johnson, the outgoing speaker, is somebody you would hire. Key supporters like Adonis Rodriguez, Lori Cumbo, Ruben Diaz Jr. Are they people that you would look to staff your administration?
I think we're fortunate to have so much talent. And I'm speaking with several of the men and women who ran for mayor. I was really impressed with the field during the primary, and I love some of their ideas that I would like to incorporate in what we're doing. I don't have to be the author of good ideas. Good ideas are good ideas. And there's those who are leaving the city council and other places in government that I think they can make great government officials, because we understand the bottleneck in the delivery of services from our agencies. And so I'm looking to staff up. We're going to put a great team in place, because you're only as good as your team. And that is why we're going to assemble an amazing team to lead our city in the right direction.
So you're looking at some of the people who are leaving the council, and like Ruben Diaz, who's leaving the Bronx borough president's office, people like that who could certainly bring their expertise to help you.
Yes, there's some great people out there. Ruben, I adore Ruben and his leadership. We served together as borough president. Jimmy Otto, I think, is one of the top net officials in our city. He's a smart thinker. Lori Cumbo in cultural affairs. She ran a museum before coming in service. Donis Rodriguez really understand the issues in the Hispanic and Spanish speaking community. So we're fortunate of the experience that many of those electeds have carried out while they were in government. They can bring those ideas, and I'm looking forward to seeing what their desires are, and if we can find the right fit.
So I guess one of the things that I've been curious about is street safety. I know we talked about it when you were on the couch with us, but what do you think you could do to make the streets safer?
And it's a combination. People often look at government alone, but it's just not that simple. We have to change the culture in our city, and we do it on a multitude of levels. It's about driver's education in schools, explaining how we share the road in school. Before children get their driver's license or learning permits, we should allocate time and have videos and short documentaries of what happens when family members are devastated from vehicle crashes. We should plant the seed of responsible driving now. And then we have to shape our streets to encourage people to drive slower. I was part of the team with another gentleman named Eric when we thought we moved to decrease the speed limit in our city. People thought we were crazy when I was in the state Senate, but we accomplished that. And then we need to look at how do we have more pedestrian plazas? How do we shape the city so it's more friendly to pedestrians and those who are living with disabilities? Sometimes we forget that. And that's why I dedicated a great deal of dollars to do traffic calming measures as the borough president. And I will continue to do so and advocate for that. I'm a bike rider. I want my city to be safe for those who skateboard, those who ride bikes or scooters. We have to do it in an organized fashion.
Do you think you would further reduce speed limits in some areas?
If it's shown based on DOT and other studies that we can make the streets safer to prevent the vehicle crashes, yes, I will. I'm open to do with whatever is possible to prevent the crashes that we're seeing in the city. We continue to increase even with Vision Zero. We're not reaching that vision, and I don't want that to continue to be the legacy of our city.
I know it's only been a few hours since you got elected, but I wonder if you had any thoughts about what executive orders you want to sign on day one when you walk into that office.
Well, there are a few that I'm looking at, and we putting together an amazing transition team. We had a pre-transition team assembled together. Sheena Wright from United Way is going to co-chair that with 4 other members, and we're building out tables that's going to look at all of our industry areas, everything from healthcare to education to public safety. And each table is going to be charged with coming up with some clear executive orders that we should put in place and what changes we want to do in our agencies with a deep dive. And so I have a few ideas that we're going to be rolling out before we take office on how to make our city function better.
So, I know you told me that you think that there's a lot of waste in government, which I think we could agree is the truth. And one of the things you zeroed in on was the Department of Education. One of the things I was thinking about was that when Chancellor Carranza came in, he added a lot of people to the upper echelons of the department. There's a lot of extra managers. Do you think you need all those managers, and could you save some by streamlining the Department of Education?
Yes, we can. I hate to sound like Barack Obama, but yes, we can. I believe we can. We need to start asking a real question. What do you do? What do you do? And if you're not connected directly to the classroom and helping teachers, then we need to do a real analysis of, what exactly are you doing and why are we paying such a hefty salary? And I just learned the other day that a lot of DOE employees are getting raises every 6 months. I need to know why. We need to look into that. And are we starting to spend up because the new mayor is coming in? And so I'm going to take a look at all the new salary increases over the last year to make a determination of were we using taxpayers' dollars improperly. And you know what, Marcia? I could understand if we were using these dollars, if we were producing a good product. 65% of Black and brown children don't meet proficiency every year. So you're being paid high fees, you're going to conferences, we're keeping the same consultants over and over again, and we're getting an inferior product. That just doesn't make sense. That's the height of dysfunctionality, and that's not going to continue under an administration with Eric Adams.
So I know your time is short. Let me just ask you this, your message. You are now the mayor-elect of the city of New York. What's your message to your new constituents who depend on you for everything?
It's just one word: believe. Believe. We've lost our belief that, number one, that government can stop betraying us, which it has since I was a little boy. We lost our ability to believe that agencies can produce the quality product that we deserve. There's a covenant between government and its citizenry. The citizens pay their taxes. Government is supposed to deliver goods and services based on those tax dollars, and we have not done that. We have good people in these agencies, but we have terrible systems. And I just want New Yorkers to believe again, and not only in our government, but I want them to believe in themselves. No matter what they're going through, where they are, it's not who they are. There's an opportunity in this great city, and I believe that, and I want them to believe it as well.
So last question, what do you think your mom is thinking now? And she looks down on you and she says, you made it.
A lot.
She's proud of you, huh? Yeah, I think she is. And so you know that when she brought you in to that voting booth and she put your hand on somebody who was elected, now you're that guy.
And I want to help other mothers make sure their children can have that same opportunity.
Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I didn't mean to make you cry, but I was very moved by you yesterday, and I want to tell you that.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.